Hello and welcome back to Prophecy of Pendor and our Ironman challenge. Now, we're actually doing a normal tournament in the first part of this episode, and I'm not going to show everything. I'm just going to show maybe the first round, maybe second round, and then I'll show the final, because it's, yeah, well, kind of easy to get through to the next rounds. Alright, so this is the penultimate round, and you can see here that we're actually dealing with someone on a horse right now, and oh dear. Ooh, oh, that was problematic. Oh, did you see that? Ooh, yeah, that was really, really close. Almost got myself killed right there, because those Rangers of the Clarion Call, they really have a punch behind their attacks. Okay, this might actually be problematic as well, because now I'm going to have to deal with this guy. I would like to deal massive damage to him as he's getting off his mount, but... Oh, that was Kratos. Yes. Yeah, he gave me a little bit of problems earlier in the tournament, and thankfully I was able to do something there. So yeah, look at that. Actually getting some cash for once, if you can believe it. I've been having some problems with cash, but thankfully because I have a ransom broker in Laria at the moment, I've basically just been transferring a couple of prisoners. Oh yeah, by the way, I have this guy. Yeah, I actually found this guy limping along, literally limping along. He had about 80, 90 troops, and he was running all the way to Torba. And I thought to myself, hey, you know what? I'm just going to intercept this guy and take him out. And we were able to take him prisoner. It was not a spectacular fight by any means. It was probably one of the easiest, most boring fights that there has ever been, so you didn't miss anything at all. It's literally just a formality pretty much to get that guy taken prisoner. So I'm just going to go into the tavern here real quick, just going to get a little bit more cash. As you can see, look at that, 19,000 dinars for those prisoners. That's exactly the reason why I like to put my spare prisoners into Laria whenever I can. And there's also a good reason why I started the episode here, because we're actually going to speak to the guy and we're going to ask him for his weapon. I'm taking your weapon. Now get out of my sight and run home, you coward. All right, and that's exactly what we're doing. So there you go. He's actually going to give us the bow, and there is his bow. And for comparison, this is the Sapphire Rune bow. So if you are wanting to, have something that maybe is a little bit more accurate, because as you can see, it does have 95 accuracy rather than 93. And this is admittedly maybe not as easy to get. Maybe. It really depends. It also has a lower power draw requirement, so it is easier to use in that regard, but it's Pendor. Pendor is generally a mod where you're going to have a huge amount of skills at very high levels in not that much time at all, because if you are able to defeat a number of unique spawns, you're going to be absolutely fine in no time. So anyway, Diev, hello, sir. You're using an absolutely terrible bow, so it would be a good idea for you to use this one. He is going to turn into an absolute beast. Look at him. He's using a mace. Why is he using a mace still? I really do need to get him a better weapon. And speaking of that, I'm going to go into Laria right now and see if I can buy a better weapon for him, or at the very least maybe buy him a better set of arrows or something like that. I should probably go and buy him some Noldor stuff, shouldn't I? That would probably be the way to go. Yeah, I think that would probably be the way to go. So I'm gonna actually do that, because that's also another reason why I started the episode here, because there is a Noldor tournament going on relatively soon, and hopefully we will be able to take part in it. And oh yeah, by the way, this is the map right now. This is the map right here. Some things have happened, as you can see. I actually did take, I took this one. This one was actually still Deshar owned, weirdly enough. I always forget this one for some reason. Every single time I look at Deshar territory, I'm always like, oh, look, that's a village down there. No, it's actually not a village. It is actually a castle. And yeah, I took that. It was just a pretty easy one. Unfortunately, the couple of Archons, my vassals that are actually in this area, have been taken prisoner numerous times, and I have attempted to get them freed as soon as possible. Oh, there we go. There's 6 noble recruits. We lost 6,300 dinars. That's pretty harsh, but I will try to I'm not entirely sure what's going on with Ishkomen. Every single time I go over there and stay in the garrison for a little bit of time, the enemies run away. Should I just go over there right now? Maybe I should. Alright, so yeah, I actually did arrive in Ishkomen, and amusingly enough, there's a guy there with over 400 units in his army, and I'm just thinking to myself, are you serious? How'd you get that many? You know, how'd you get that many? I guess he must have killed some Singalian slavers or something like that and rescued their prisoners to become such a large army. But anyway, the point is that I chased him off. He ran away when I decided to wait for some time, as they usually do in these kinds of situations. And I decided I'm going to go and try and rescue Archon Hereward, because, as I said, there's a bunch of vassals getting taken prisoner. He got himself taken prisoner as I was walking over to Ishkomen, and he is currently the prisoner of Caliph Barman, who is the guy that we're currently fighting against. Now, no doubt, Caliph Barman is going to be throwing some cocktails at me, or some kind of drink, because, get it? Barman? Bartender? Never mind. Terrible, isn't it? Absolutely terrible. So what we're going to do now is we're going to try and snipe them. Yes, we're going to try and snipe them. Bear in mind that Caliph Barman himself does have an ally in this particular battle as well, so we do need to be a little bit careful, because I don't know what ally that is. I mean, I know who it is, but I don't know whether he has a decent composition or not. Now, what I have found in my time fighting the Deshar is that most of their units tend not to have shields. So I'm hoping that I will be able to... Oh, wait a minute. There seems to be a Salian defector in this enemy army right here. Aha, interesting. So he seems to just have Salian units and Deshar units combined. Yeah, that's not going to be a big deal. That is not a big deal at all. We should be absolutely fine. Our Iron Knights are going to take care of that, no problem at all. And bear in mind that... Oh, that's the guy. There he is. Godric, I'm terribly sorry that I headshot you, sir. I'm sure he's going to be waking up with a headache because he's just knocked unconscious. I always thought that was a bit weird, you know, in Warband, when you're fighting a guy and you headshot him and it says, oh, massive damage, you know, 160 something damage, and then all of a sudden the guy is awake, you know, in the next week, and he's got a whole army, you know, back immediately. And I think that in general, from a gameplay standpoint, obviously it's basically impossible to make it so that the lords do die every single time you take them out, because obviously you as the player is going to want to win these fights every single time. You want to win. Obviously, you want to win because you are the player. You don't want to get taken prisoner. You don't want to lose your units and so on and so forth. But that's the point. There maybe should be a percentage chance for a lord or something like that to be killed on the field of battle, instead of them automatically just being knocked unconscious over and over and over again. And I know that some mods actually do rectify that particular situation, and I'm mostly referring to the Last Days of the Third Age. Last Days of the Third Age does do that actually quite nicely, because it doesn't give an overwhelming chance for a lord to die, but there is a chance. And that does tend to tilt factions in various ways. It basically will make it so that one faction is much, much stronger than the other. I mean, obviously in the Last Days there is a massive power gap between the two different types of units. I've spoken about the Last Days at length previously, I think in this series as well as in others, as a good example of making factions that are inherently imbalanced, but while making them imbalanced, making them extremely balanced at the same time. Because you think about playing as the Orcs and the Uruk-hai, and you have those guys being an absolute horde of huge amounts of units, monstrous amounts of units. And on the flip side, then you have the elves, who run around with literally not many units at all. But the thing is that the elves are extremely skilled in regards to their stats and attributes and gear, and the orcs, on the other hand, they're pitiful. They're terrible. They're absolutely awful. Their stats are terrible. They're not terrible, but they're much worse than the elven units. And probably the dwarves, and probably the humans as well, let's face it. But the point is that they've done a good job. You know, the mod creators of The Last Days did a very, very good job when it comes to asymmetric gameplay, and it just adds more flavor to the world by having the lords have a potential to die. Because I had in one of my playthroughs, I had a guy from, where was it now? A guy from Gondor. That's it. I had a guy from Gondor die, and then another guy, I believe, died as well within quick succession. And I was just like, why? Why'd you do this to me? You know, because I have to, as the player, intervene in the Gondor versus Mordor struggle. Because if I don't help, then Gondor is going to fall relatively quickly, because Rohan is having huge amounts of problems with the polearm-focused infantry of Isengard, and so on and so forth. But the point is that having that additional difficulty in regards to people potentially dying and not being able to continue helping, I think is really, really cool. And I think Pendor actually could have had that kind of flavor as well, because there are a lot of lords. It doesn't really matter too much if 1, 2, maybe 3, or even 4 lords end up dying. Of course, it does make that faction much weaker, but then maybe they would decide to do things a little bit differently, the lords, you know, if there is a death kind of penalty or something like that. I don't know how to really make that work, because I'm not a modder or anything like that, but the point is that I think that would be really cool in every mod, to be fair, because it just adds that additional little bit of realism as well. But Godric is actually a good-natured vassal, and I'm perfectly happy that he didn't die, because I will be able to now take him prisoner. This guy is a bad-tempered vassal, and we will be taking him prisoner as well. And there's Archon Hereward as well. We have freed him, gained some honor as a result of that. I think we have a decent amount of honor now as well. Really, really good amount of honor. So that's going to be very nice for us. Okay, so I have very small amount of space, which is unfortunate. I guess I'll just take some of these guys. I have really no idea what to take, but I will take all of the prisoners. And we will now be speaking to Godric himself, and we will be accepting his oath of fealty to us. Yeah, that's going to be really good. So we have another good-natured vassal. Basically, getting those guys is the best, really is the best, because they really very rarely complain about things, and I very much appreciate that, because I, in my previous playthroughs of basically every mod, have never really cared that much about vassals' natures, but it actually makes a huge difference. It actually does help you quite a bit to take that into account. But anyway, let's just continue leveling up Trainer with Sigismund right here. And now it is about time for us to save a farmer's village from infestation by some highwaymen, as you can see right here. And these guys are actually pretty easy now. I literally just have to headshot most of them, or just shoot them in general, and they seem to die pretty quickly. But yeah, the point is that this is basically my well, one of the best sources, shall we say, for renown. It is also a really, really good source for honor as well. So if you are ever in a situation where you need renown and you need honor and you need to be safe because you're doing the Ironman challenge, or you just don't want to have too much challenge involved, then do one of these farmer quests. They're really, really good. And you can stay relatively safe without just getting shot for 26 and 31 damage respectively. Oh, I couldn't believe it. You couldn't write it, could you? You really couldn't write it, because I'm like, yeah, everything's really safe here, and then gets shot in the face multiple times. Great. And there you go, 18 renown, and I believe you get, not entirely sure how much honor you get anymore by this, but you also get some village relation, and village relation is actually quite important if you are still somewhat in the mid-game. Obviously, right now, I'm pretty much in the end game, but we'll see how it goes as we progress onward to taking over the entirety of Pendor. Alright, so here we go. Unfortunately, now Tar has come under siege, so it might be required for me to head over there as soon as possible after I have finished this tournament. Now, I'm very much hoping that I will be able to succeed in this, because the last time, April Fool's Day completely cursed me and basically made it impossible for me to win that tournament. Obviously, I'm just being superstitious here. I don't really think that that was the reason why I failed, but, you know, the point is that it's nice to potentially gain a victory here. Ah, nice. I've already got a kill, so I have safety, a little bit of extra safety, so I don't really have to worry about actually dying anymore. You know, so if I do die, then I'm already through to the next round. I kind of want to fight the entirety of these rounds, so I am just going to do that. Ah, he's still alive. Take this. There we go. Yeah, so we're going to just go through all of the rounds here, because I personally feel like the Nordor tournament is much more interesting than the regular ones. And see if I can do some damage to this guy. Take him down. There we go. This guy also needs to get shot a little bit. Let's try and assist our friend here. Okay, apparently... Oh, okay. Oh, apparently there's a bunch. Okay, well, there you go. That's it. That's it. I had no idea that the blue team were absolutely murdering everything. Well, after that rather annoying defeat at the Nordor tournament, well, we don't really need to do that anymore, technically, because I already have access to the mystical rune plate, and I have access to basically everything that the Nordor have to offer. But it would be nice to, you know, have a potential for a Qualis gem or something like that, but oh well, never mind. Anyway, I rushed down to Naltar after that, and, well, this is where we are right now. We're actually fighting the guy that was attempting to besiege Naltar. What's amusing about this, to me, this guy has 89 units. I'm serious. It just says 89. Just 89 units. I have no idea why he decided to besiege Naltar, because Naltar has about 180, I think, in the garrison there. I could be wrong about that, of course, so I didn't really check, because I was wanting to chase the guy off as soon as possible. But I would assume that they have about 180 as a starting point, or at the very least, if they start with about 80, they usually get a good amount in a very short period of time if you give the fief to one of your vassals. And that's usually what I tend to do, because they will automatically garrison the defense very, very fast, and you don't really have to worry too much about anyone trying to take it, like this guy. So hopefully we will be able to... wow, look at this. This is a display and a half, isn't it? With all these red and green dots just all running all over the place, isn't it? Okay, well, I'm hopeful that these horse archers will actually cease their silliness, and we will be able to move on. Oh, yeah, that nice snipe. There we go. That's what I like to see. And even if I can't hit the guy, then at least hitting the horse will make things a little bit easier for us. Because if we can take them off their mounts, then they're basically useless. The greatest thing that these horse archers can do, and one of the things that I'm actually not looking forward to in Bannerlord at all, is how good the horse archers are actually going to be from the Khuzait Khanate. They are really going to be insanely good. Because with the new AI and everything, I mean, I can imagine that... I mean, just think about this. This horse archer AI was modded in, and obviously the developers at Tailwords, they're full-time developers, they're not hobbyists or anything, they're paid for their work and everything. And so that horse archer AI, oh my, it's going to be frustrating. It's going to be frustrating for me at least. Okay, well, there you go. Ooh, this guy is actually an upstanding vassal. Can you believe it? All right, yes, you will be coming with me, and I will certainly be attempting to persuade you. And speaking of persuasion, let us attempt to accept his oath right now. There we go. I will serve you well, my liege. Ooh, fantastic. All right, so that is really, really good. We've done a lot of recruiting, and I was hopeful that the Nordor tournament would go a lot better than it did. Admittedly, maybe I'm just not putting my heart into it. I'm probably not putting my heart into it, let's face it, because in the first 12 or 13 Nordor tournaments, I was doing really well. You know, I was doing really well. I was very, very aware of things. I was killing people very quickly and easily. And now that I have the mystical rune plate, and now that I don't really need anything, it's kind of it's kind of diminished my ability to play in those tournaments. But maybe in the next month's one, we'll try and redeem ourselves. I actually wanted this one to be the redemption, but oh well. Alright, so we're now in Empire territory, and you know the reason for that? Oh yeah, you can guess it. The Empire declared war against us, of course, yes, of course. Anyway, so the Empire is at war against us, the Dashar are at war against us, and the Fierdsvain are at war against us. The only people that are not are Ravenstern at the moment, which is actually kind of surprising, considering Avendor is kind of surrounded by us. Kind of, I guess, a little bit. And Ravenstern is on the border of our territory as well. And we do own some of their original fiefs, and usually factions tend to declare war against people that have claims on their original fiefs quite often. But the Ravenstern, they're kind of leaving us alone right now. But I just wanted to actually show you that this is the Dread Legion right now. Yeah. I can't actually believe that they have over 5,000 prisoners. That is insane. And I think that actually gives me an idea. What I'm going to do is, in the next episode, I'm going to make myself Marshal, going to call for a campaign, and we're going to go and attack the Dread Legion. Or at least we are going to try and do that, because I know that the AI tends to be really, really annoying when they are up against a much more powerful opponent, and what they'll do is they'll tend to run away quite often, and they will not stay with you. So it might not be possible for me to get those guys all in the same battle, but if I can get them all into the same battle, 5,000 prisoners split, or going to one vassal, it's going to turn him into an absolute wrecking ball. So I'm thinking we're going to try and do something about that, because they don't seem that strong right now. They've only got 45 Serpent Priestesses. They do have 118 Anaconda Knights, which is going to be very, very powerful for them. And they also have a number of other very powerful units. But apart from the first 200 and maybe 300 or so units, everything else that they have is not that strong. So we should be able to do quite well. Who knows? I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.